Welcome to another Bandology interview. Bandology is a Canadian nonprofit dedicated to more music for more kids via education, collaboration, and community.
Hi everyone, my name is Lucas Redwood and I am the music manager with Bandology. I'm very excited to be here today with Mike Sleath, a musician from Toronto, most commonly known for performing with Shawn Mendes. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun.
So Mike, can you start off by telling us when you first started playing music?
Yeah, so I first started playing music when I was about like 10-ish or something like that. But I had drumsticks before. But yeah, just kind of just started playing. My uncle was a drummer, so so there was always kind of like drums around and stuff like that. And so I used to sneak on his drums and sort of mess around. And then I think I got my first kit when I was about like 12 or 13. And then it's been a love affair ever since.
Right on. Who were some of your main mentors or influencers when you were growing up for music?
Well, it was always my uncle was like a big one. He, in the very early years, he sort of like showed me kind of the ropes of how, like, he came from sort of like the 80s, like late 70s, 80s, sort of like hair metal kind of stuff. So, so he really taught me to hit the drums really loud and, that kind of stuff. And then moving past that, like, Travis Barker was always like a huge one for me. And Jeremy Taggart, he was in Our Lady Peace. Like, growing up, I thought that the two best drummers in the world are Jeremy Taggart and Travis Barker. And then I sort of started listening to more like Led Zeppelin and Rush and all this kind of stuff. And then, the influences just started coming more and more after that.
Absolutely. Were there any difficulties during the start of your career, and what kind of led you to want to pursue a career in music?
There's constantly like difficulties. Like I guess what I learned early on is you have to have a really, really thick skin because you get told no a lot. And it's sort of like for every one win, you have like 10 losses. So, so just having the perseverance to push through and work past all these failures and seeing that, seeing a goal and all this kind of stuff. That was a huge thing for me. So but specifically it was like, when you're starting out, like, at least I started out playing with a lot of bands and stuff. And it was like, my thing was going to be, I was going to be a member of a band and all this stuff. And then you play with a band for a couple of years and then band breaks up. And then it's like, oh, okay, so what do I do now? Okay, so I'll join another band. So you join another band and it's like, this band is going to go, we're going to the top. Like, we're going to start touring. And then something happens and the band breaks up. So it's like, I noticed that, like, that, that was a huge issue. And then, so each time it would be like, okay, well, I don't know what to do. Like, so just, finding other things to do and just always being motivated to, like, keep pushing and keep following your dreams, even though things keep on failing,
Yeah. Perseverance, great skill to
Perseverance,
have.
man.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's what we have to have as musicians. It's very important.
100%.
Yeah.
So can you describe a bit about the process of how you received the opportunity to perform with Shawn Mendes? I'm very curious.
Yeah, so I'd been gigging a lot with like a lot of different pretty established like Canadian artists, and I've done a lot of touring like sort of around the world and stuff with a lot of people. So I was sort of in the Toronto, Canada, like, I was in like the scene. So I was working with an artist called Francesco Yates at the time, and he was signed to Atlantic in the US. And that was like my full-time gig. We were doing a lot of touring and all this stuff. And a couple of years prior, I had met a guy by the name of Dan Cantor, he was Justin Bieber's musical director from like the beginning of Justin Bieber's career up until I think a couple of years ago. And so I had met him at like the Much Music Video Awards. I was performing, I think, with Francesco or something. And yeah, and then I started hearing all these whispers about like Shawn and all this stuff, and like, I was also playing with a guy called Tyler Shaw, and like at the time, being a Canadian musician, you got to play with so many different artists at all this, all the time. Yeah. So so I was also working with Tyler Shaw, and Tyler kept on talking about Shawn Mendes. I was like, who is this guy? He's a guy from Pickering, and he's like blowing up in the States and all this stuff. And then I remember driving home from a rehearsal, and I heard I think his first single was Something Big, and right. Yeah, and I remember hearing that on the radio, and I was like, oh, this is Shawn Mendes. I'm like, I should play for this guy. I'm like, I don't know how, but like, I need to work with this guy. And literally weeks later, I got the call to come and audition. And I got the gig, and it's been going strong for coming on 8 years, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, exciting.
Like I met him when he was 15, and he's 23 now. So it's been going for a while.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Can you also describe a bit about, so now from the drumming perspective, of how you kind of arrange or compose parts for Shawn's songs? Yeah.
So it's like, it's a very case by case kind of basis. I guess with a lot of like pop music and stuff, a lot of the elements that happen on track are, it's all programmed, right? So there's a lot of things where you'll hear like a bass, you might not actually have a snare drum on the track, or there might not actually be crashes on the track. Mm-hmm. So the challenge with being a drummer replicating album stuff live is you want to be able to keep the integrity of the recording while making it fun and exciting live. So what I always try to do is, it's a lot of like experimenting, like you might hear like a kick drum do one thing, and then there might be a snare doing another thing. Or like, there might be like a clap or something like that. So now you have to think of, okay, so maybe in the verses I'll play a clap, but maybe in the choruses I could play a snare layered with a clap. So like, I'll put, I have like a big electronic kind of like setup with my kit. So I have triggers over every drum. So it leaves me this opportunity to be able to play the acoustic drums, but then also layer album things on it. So like if there's a very specific bass drum, I could either play my acoustic bass drum layered with the sound of the trigger, or I have this little thing called a KT10. I have two in a box there, but I don't have one I can show you. I literally have two brand new ones just sitting in a box. Anyway, so then I could just play the KT10, which is like I could just play the sample. So so electronics leave you like a lot of opportunity to really like expand your performance. So that's like a big thing we do, and also finding ways to like embellish things. So one of my favorite things to do is, if you're listening to like an album or listening to a track or something like that, I always try to find ways to make the singer sound amazing or something like that live. So like, maybe it could be as simple as like throwing like a little like splash when they say something, if it's like, if there's a little inflection in their voice, you can just like, and just give them a little something like that. Or it could be like, you do kind of like shots around when they say something at some point to make like, their line really like, to really like emphasize whatever they're saying. So yeah, so that's sort of like a general idea of how I try to approach live stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that you're taking the time to take that extra attention to the detail, because it's super important. It helps like elevate the show. Yeah,
and like if for any drummer, I always recommend like a really good and fun exercise is to put on like any music, anything that you're into, and while playing the groove, try to sing the melody of the vocal on different drums. So if you're like I don't, like, it sounds ridiculous, but like find places, if not hit every single, if not hit the entire melody on drums, cymbals, and all this kind of stuff, find ways like, I don't know, whatever song you're into. If it's like, I don't know, name a song, and then you can kind of go, like, if you're playing Peaches by Justin Bieber, it's like, I got my peaches out in Georgia, and like, but keeping the backbeat going.
Yeah.
And like, obviously you wouldn't do that live, but it just gives you this like understanding of how to really like approach, maybe like, you know, and you'll play things and you're like, okay, that doesn't sound right. But like, it's like a fun way to like experiment and find ways to like, you know, sit with the vocal and stuff.
I hear that a lot in like almost some of the really heavy, like the gospel type players, like, you know, Eric Moore and like,
he hammers out all the vocals on splashes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like literally he does, you know, arguably too much sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I chop City all the time.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Right on. But like, so what would you say some of your performance highlights are with performing with Shawn? I know there might be a ton.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool ones. I always go back to the Grammys. Like playing the Grammys was just like absolute dream come true. Yeah, it was just a crazy experience. Yeah, the Grammys was really cool. We've done like we did Rock in Rio in Brazil, and that one was a cool one because I don't know if you remember, there was a channel called Much More Music in Canada. It was channel 36, I believe, and I used to watch like Rock in Rio every year, and it's this crazy festival in Rio in Brazil, and you know, it's like 150,000 people or something like that. So like, yeah, so I used to always watch this concert, and then actually being able to play it was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right on. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So you're also working with Zubin Thacker for a musical director, and I've seen a lot of cool things that he's been doing with Shawn and everything. And I'm wondering what your kind of experience is like working with a musical director for, say, some of those productions like the Grammys and whatnot. Yeah,
well, like Zubin, his ear is absolutely incredible, and I think one of like the best things about him is his taste. Like he has a really, really like a really acute understanding of how to put together a live show for a big kind of crowd. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so it's just awesome. Like you know, being drummers, we like to go crazy sometimes, you know, and like, it's kind of like at the end of every section, it's like, oh, just let me do something crazy. But working with him, he's really like, he's really pulled it all back. And it sort of made me realize that like these huge fills, they don't translate always in like a huge arena or a huge stadium. Like a lot of times you're better off doing a simpler fill, which gives like say, this isn't always true because like I've said this before and people are like, okay, well, what about Neil Peart? And it's like, yeah, like Neil Peart, but like he does some crazy fills, but at the same time, they're all very musical. And like, you know, he's not just like doing these insane linear fills. That's just like madness. They're all thought out. And like, if you watch Rush performances, it's like the drums are like a part. It's not like, he's not just getting to a section and it's like, okay, fill. It's like a specific part in the song. So yeah, so Zubin's really made me realize like how important that kind of stuff is. And he's just a great guy. So it's awesome working with him.
Awesome. That's cool. Yeah, totally agree. They say that I bet his parts were very composed.
Yeah.
Like and thought out, which made him it, and I think the other members sometimes wrote their parts around these specific drum parts, which is really a great, cool way to do it, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like I noticed I saw Justin Bieber a couple weeks ago, and like, you know, it was cool, like, you know, it's all Justin Bieber stuff, but like, no, like, well, like, you know, Styx?
Yeah,
like
I was literally about to say, yeah, Styx.
I was watching this and I'm like, this guy might be the best drummer I've ever seen live. Like he's unreal. Yeah. And he gets away with doing a lot of these like crazy, crazy fills. But what we like to do is like, instead of doing something that's, you know, super gospel, like I keep on saying gospel, super like chopsy, super like all that kind of stuff. I sometimes find it a lot more effective to just like be like, do, 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 and then the lighting guys can start doing all this crazy stuff with lights, so another thing that Zubin has like showed me is like, it's not just about what we're doing right now in the moment. It's about what all these other people can do. Like, like if I'm doing a crazy fill, now the lighting guy doesn't have any opportunity to like hit any things or something like that. So like seeing like the big picture of the show is really important.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So any exciting events coming up with Shawn?
Yeah, we're just kind of like, there's a couple things happening that I don't think I could talk about, but the main thing is just this tour. Like, we have the tour like pretty well kind of ready, but we're getting into rehearsals next month and we're going to really like hash out all these cool ideas. So, so we're just looking at like building this amazing show, and our last show was like really well reviewed. So like now we're trying to like really push it and try to make it even better. Like, like this will be our, I guess, 4th ticketed world tour. So, so like we've kind of all learned like a lot at this point. So there's a lot more to like draw from. And, when we're putting together set lists, we can kind of be like, okay, well that thing could have been better or that could have been better. And so hopefully this will be the best tour yet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So with Bandology, we talk a lot about the value of music education. And a question I have for you, Mike, is why do you think music education is important to you?
I do think that music education is very important. I think that like whether you're going to like an actual school or you're studying on your own or anything like that, like you can't expect to like know everything. So I always find like the real know-it-all kind of drummers, like I am always kind of like, I don't know, I'm not into that. I feel like I'm still like learning everything. There's still so much to learn. I still see myself as like a beginner drummer. Like I think there's so much to learn. So I think it's so important to learn to read, to learn as many tools as you can, to learn like to read, to write, and then learn like all the recording kind of like, that sort of aspect, or as much as you could possibly learn. Like I think just being like a modern drummer and all this stuff, you need to have so many weapons in your holster. You got to have so many tools in your belt. Like you have to really like, you got to know as much as possible, because there's somebody out there working harder than you doing, more, like there's always going to be that person. So you just have to try to do the very best for yourself and try not to compare yourself to other people. And man. So I think it's very important.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that. So we have one more formal question, and that is, do you have any advice for younger musicians interested in pursuing a career in music?
Yeah. I would just say if it's something that you really, really want to do, you just got to find a way to get it. And, try not to like, again, I said this before, but like try not to look too much on other people. Like, take as much advice as you can, but like, everybody's story is like a little bit different. I remember when I was coming up, I'd always like ask people like, okay, well, how did you get that? How did you do that? Like, how did you do this? How did you do that? And it's kind of like, they maybe had different opportunities that I have and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I guess like my main advice would just be like stick at it, like work every day, treat it like a job. Like you can't like practice for if you work for five minutes a day, you're not going to make any money. So like if you practicing for 5 minutes a day, you're not going to learn to play the drums, or you're not going to learn to play the drums to the level that, you can make it a career. Yeah. So even when I'm not like technically working, like even if I'm not like on a gig or something like that, I still treat it like a work day. Like, I'm like practicing all day long, or like I'm recording, or I'm thinking of things like that I could record, like to send to other people, or like, I'm always seeking out more work, more recording, or like, stuff like that. So like, yeah, I guess you just gotta stay motivated and persevere through all of the. I almost said you always have to perseverance, but no, that's the right term. You have to persevere, through all these like hardships and stuff like that. And if you can get past it, like, you're living the dream, man.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for that. That was super, very awesome advice for younger musicians.
Thank you.
So we like to end off our interviews with a little set of Fast Five questions.
Pooh! That's a little inside joke.
All right. Okay, first question. What is your favorite movie soundtrack?
That Thing You Do.
That Thing You Do. Nice.
Yeah.
Instrument you wish you played?
Saxophone.
Sax, nice. Yeah. I love the saxophone.
Love the saxophone. Any of them.
Any of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Dream vacation spot?
Probably Costa Rica, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything like that.
Anything in the Caribbean is always nice.
Oh yeah. No, Hawaii. I'm gonna change that to Hawaii. I've never been.
It's a very cool spot.
Is it? Oh,
yes.
We gotta go, man.
Yeah. Yes. What is your favorite concert you've attended?
Oh God. Probably Blink-182. Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yeah. I saw Blink-182. Simple Plan opened. Simple Plan opened. It was Blink-182, Sum 41, Newfound Glory. Ugh, it was amazing.
Oh, wow.
I was 13 and I almost died.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
And last but not least, what is your hidden talent?
Hidden talent? Oh man, my girlfriend's in the other room. She could probably answer this a lot better. My hidden talent. I'm a pretty good cook.
Nice.
I'm not bad.
What's your favorite meal to cook?
I've recently went through a big Sopranos thing, so I'm trying to make a lot of Italian American food. So I make a baked ziti. That's really good.
I love that. That's
it's so good, right?
It's so good. Yeah.
So good. Like amazing. You can't go wrong with something like that.
No, you can. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, thanks so much, Mike. It was awesome chatting with you. Thanks so much for sharing about your journey. And
so nice chatting with you.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing all the awesome things you're continuing to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's amazing that you're doing this Bandology thing. We need more guys like you, man.
Thanks, dude. All right. Take care.
Okay. Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us. If you like what you heard, you can learn more about our organization at bandology.ca, which features information about music education, advocacy and research, and our Play a Gig and Bandcamp programs. Follow us on social media for more videos, performance, and interviews on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.